My skin is black.
What you looking
My
at?
skin
Yeah,
is black.
I feel so good to be black right now.
Okay, welcome to episode 61. I'm sorry, this is not 61. This is 62. Welcome to episode 62 of the BlackNFashion podcast. Today is going to be a very, very special episode. I'm actually interviewing my grandmother. She is the one that taught me how to sew when I was a little girl. She is the one that helped me pay for my education for design school. She is the V in my College team. So welcome, Granny. I'm very excited about having you on here.
Well, I'm happy that you called and I can do something for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So what I want to do is just to start off by talking just like a little bit about like your background, where you're from, and you know how you actually learned how to sew.
Well, I'm from a place called Anguilla, Mississippi. My background is my grandmother could sew, and she could just look at whatever somebody had on, and she could just make it. So I was wearing designers originals before I know what a designer original was.
That's amazing. And then she, at what age did she kind of start to teach you those skills?
Well, I would always be around because I had to thread her needle.
Okay.
She had got to, she was getting older.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, girl, you got to thread my needle. If I didn't just thread the needle, I would thread the sewing machine and stuff like that for her. So I couldn't go too far because she'd ask me, come back, Bertie, I need you to do this.
You're talking about Grandma Delta, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Well, see, I didn't ever call her my grandmama. She was my mama.
Nice.
So I just called her mama like everybody else called her mama.
Gotcha.
I didn't realize that she was my grandmother until I got to the point where I could have a grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized I had a grandmother all the time. But she was just my mother.
Mm. So why do you feel like, why didn't you notice? Where was your mom?
Oh, my mother was having fun or doing her life someplace else.
Gotcha.
And my daddy was doing the same thing also. So grandmama was home. Grandmother was who taught me how to be a lady, how I should dress, how I should act, and everything. So I don't know what my mama would have taught me because she was not there.
Gotcha. But
I don't remember what she looked like until I was at least 10.
Gotcha. And then you did eventually move to Chicago. How old were you when you moved to Chicago?
I was 16.
Okay.
I came to visit for the summer. It was a summer vacation for me.
Mm-hmm.
I arrived July 18th, 1960,
Okay.
on my uncle's birthday. And after I got here, I found out later I couldn't go back home because I'm so useful and so handy and I know how to do so many things. You are my child, not my mama's child. So I need your help. So she had 4 other children younger than me that I had proved that I could take care of, cook for, wash for, clean for. And that was it. That was my life starting in Chicago.
So when you were 16, you didn't actually like go to school? Like you had to
Yeah.
watch the kids?
I had to watch the kids. I had to take them to the clinic. I had to clean up from front room to the back room, from front room to the back. And she had 3 big bedrooms,
Mm-hmm.
a former dining room, and a living room.
Gotcha.
And on Saturday was my day to start in the living room, washing the floor, waxing the floor, going to the dining room, doing the same thing, then go back and hit up all the furniture, make sure it was wax and shine.
So your younger brothers and sister, they were able to go to school, but you wasn't?
Oh, I went to school.
Oh, you did? Okay.
But I had to make sure that their clothes was washed and ironed, and that was for the whole week, each child. But my sister wasn't able to go to school. She was only 6 months old when I arrived.
Gotcha.
But I had 3 brothers, but only 2 was going to school. One was maybe about 4th grade, and the other one was just starting to school.
Gotcha.
Like kindergarten or something like that.
Did you want to go back to Mississippi, or were you okay
Well,
with being in Chicago?
I would have loved to go back to Mississippi, but I still would. I was the last one home. All the rest of the kids had grown up, got married and stuff like that, and nobody was home but me and Mom.
Okay.
And doing nothing was good. Doing nothing was great.
Uh-huh.
But since I've been working since I was 9 years old, doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to go to the field, you have to go to the garden, and you got to pull the grass out and stuff like that from vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
You knew how to do all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And then also when I was 7 or 8, I used to go make the groceries.
You went grocery shopping by yourself at 7 and 8?
I went grocery shopping by myself with a list
Oh, wow.
that she had written. And my uncle would take me to the store, and he sat outside and wait till I got everything together. And I would make the grocery for a whole month.
Oh, wow.
And I did ask her, though, why did she send me when she had 2 daughters, Carla Jean and Joyce,
Mm-hmm.
or send Uncle June to the store?
Mm-hmm.
She's a murder. Nobody brings me change back.
Oh, so she trusted you.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think that she wanted me to learn the budgeting process
Mm-hmm.
because she knew I was going to be using the budget the rest of my life.
Right. That's funny.
That's what I think.
Yeah. I think it's because she trusted you too, and she ain't trusting to bring back her change or her money.
Well, she didn't trust anybody.
Yeah.
And besides, she said I knew how to talk to people.
Oh, you do.
And there has always been something that white people this and white people that.
Mm-hmm.
But since I was the person that went to make groceries and stuff, white people treated me differently. They never said anything disrespectful, never act like I was a kid. When I went in the store and I told them I had a list, and this is what was on the list, and we wasn't taking anything else except what was on the list, they listened to me.
Good. Oh, okay. So, did you guys when you and your granny, did you guys sew together and do little projects together? Is that also where you learn how to crochet as well?
No, I didn't learn how to crochet until much later.
Okay.
She wasn't into crocheting too much.
Okay.
She would be into, I don't know what you would call it. She would like to put pretty little designs on pillowcases.
Embroidery?
Embroidery. That's what she liked to do.
Gotcha.
And they did a lot of quilting
Okay.
then, where she and 3 or 4 other ladies would put together the quilt, and then they would hang it up in top of the house.
Oh.
In top of the house, yeah.
Okay.
And when they got ready to sew on it, they brought it down and they sewed on it. When they got finished, they put it back up in the ceiling again.
Interesting.
Because we didn't have no place to lay it down where nobody would mess with it or knock it down or whatever.
So the ceiling was like a storage area?
No, the ceiling wasn't a storage area. That's just where they rolled their quilt up and put their quilt up there until they got ready to work on it.
Okay.
And see, what they did was they had a quilting party.
Mm-hmm.
And they would drink coffee, drink tea, and quilt
Gotcha.
for 2 or 3 hours. And when they got finished, the other ladies went home, but the quilt was back in the ceiling until the next time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. So tell me about your transition into Chicago. You know, like how met your husband, how, when you started to have children. Tell me what your life was like when that part of your life got started.
Well, I met my husband in Mississippi.
Oh.
But he went to Chicago about 2 years earlier. And we communicate through letter.
Okay.
And after I came to Chicago, he would come over to see me, but I didn't know no place to go, and I was afraid. I heard so many bad things about Chicago. The only thing in Chicago I ever did was, before I got married, was go to the store, make groceries, go to the laundromat. That was my thing besides going to school. Joe would take me in the car in the morning, and I catch the bus back home.
Gotcha.
But it was no big old transition. It was over the years. I married my husband in 1962.
The year my mother was born.
Huh?
You married him the year my mom was born?
Yeah. Me and him got married, and then I had Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the kind of person that I like to do different things. So I would go to the school and volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
They thought I was a teacher at school. I was there so often. But I volunteer, and I go on different school trips with not only my children, but other children, because they needed help to supervise.
So when you was during that time, were you making clothes for my mom and my uncle? Were you and your husband?
Well, I put it this way. During the time that I was married, my husband bought me a sewing machine.
Okay.
And I would make make sure that everything was, like it was a rip or something.
Mm-hmm.
I was just sewing things together then. I was not putting together dresses or anything like that. But if I wanted to make something, what I'd do was I would go to the fabric store and look at the patterns. And if I seen a pattern that I could do, I thought I could do, that's the way I learned how to sew, is by doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it together. The first thing I ever made was an apron.
Nice. Just for you to wear around the kitchen?
I made it with 3 pockets.
Oh.
I wanted to have pockets in front of my apron. I don't know what. I had seen some aprons with 3 pockets.
Mm-hmm.
You just tied in the back. And you had the pockets to put whatever in that you needed to put in.
Gotcha.
And I had safety pins in mine. Because way back then, when you had a diaper, you had to put it pinning on them.
Right, I remember.
With a safety pin. And we didn't have no Pampers or anything like that, so you washed every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day, at the end of the day, you washed out all the diapers you used that day, and you washed out all the clothes you used that day for the baby or for the child. And if you had two, you do it for the both of them on your hand.
Gotcha.
If you didn't have a washing machine or dryer.
Okay.
And then when they got a little big, I started making things for them. Blue jeans things. They like blue jeans.
Is that your favorite fabric to work with? What's your favorite fabric to work with?
It was the favorite cotton is favorite.
Okay.
But I've worked with linen, I've worked with silk, I done worked with I guess that see-through fabric.
Organza?
Organza.
Like mesh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And way back then they had something called seersucker.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And then they had eyelet fabric that you could buy. But, you know, all of these things like that, you have to have a slip,
Underneath
a
it.
petticoat or whatever underneath because the eyelet had holes in it. So you would definitely have to put something under it.
Gotcha. Would you
Okay, that's part of it.
Okay. Would you say that is that what you wanted to do? Did you want to like be a designer? Like, what were your career goals?
I'm going to tell you, the only thing that I had seen about career goals was I know I didn't want to be in the field all my life.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had been in Mississippi and married somebody, that's exactly where I would have been. So as the time passed, I was sort of glad I had gone to Chicago and not came back. Because it was easier to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
You get a job today, you working tomorrow. And my career goals, I done did just about everything there is. I've done hair. I've worked as a cashier. I've worked as a waitress. I have worked in a laundry. Oh, I can't even remember all the things I have not done.
You've done so much.
I've done so much other things. And then I used to go over to Mr. Perkins had a beauty shop.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if I didn't know how to do something, I'd go over and watch him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know exactly how to do it.
Makes sense. So
So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, tell me, because it's something that you always say to me, and so I just want you to elaborate on it, like for the people. You always say that I am living your life. What do you mean when you say that?
I mean that I didn't get a chance to go to school or go to college or anything like that. But I made sure you got there.
Right.
That's how come I said, you are living my best life.
Right.
Because if I could do it, there's nothing wrong with telling somebody else or helping somebody else that want to go that same way.
You're right. You helped a lot of people. I remember like everybody living with us when
Well,
I was growing up.
have.
I remember having, I remember when my uncle stayed with us. I remember when cousins have stayed with us. I remember when, you guys
I
had foster
had every
kids.
member in the family live with me at one time or another.
Yeah, I know. You was always the stable one.
Well, I don't think I was stable. It's just that I was always there and I was willing to help.
And you also was one of the people in our family who never suffered from a drug addiction out of your brothers and sisters and the people around us.
Well, that is true. But I think it's only because of where I drew the line and how far I would go.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like to me in our family, people drink. When they drink too much. When they do this, they do it too much. And I think I have the potential to be all the things that all of them are. But there's a point that you say, okay, I'm going to have a drink. If you're going to have one drink, you don't go there and just try to get drunk. that's the way I always started. You have a drink, and when you get through having your drink, you done.
Right. I think
But
that's
I
one of
would-
my biggest areas of opportunity. Sometimes I drink a lot and I maybe drink too much, but I know it's something that I have to slow down on myself, like from drinking, because I know I'm definitely one of those people who like to have a cocktail and have another cocktail, and I was just like, ooh, maybe you gotta slow down. So I know for myself that I need to do that. I definitely something in our family line that we tend to just go like overboard when not necessary, you know.
Okay, then I noticed that had been a lot in our family that they drank a little too much. But me, I always wanted to have my head together. So you can't say I said it when I got all my faculties. But a lot of people in my family do things because they drunk. And then tomorrow they don't want to remember it. Might have cussed me out. But I let that go too. A whole lot of them have said a lot of bad things to hurt my feelings, but a lot of times you just can't hold people accountable for everything, but you tell them, I didn't like what you said, and if you do it again, then I know what to do for you. But since I'm always so frank and right up front with everything I do, people don't usually say things to me like that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have told them, I'm just who I am.
Right.
And I forgive quite quickly.
Yeah, I'm the same when it comes to that. I feel like...
Because
Oh, go ahead, Gurney.
you can hold grudges and it won't hurt that person you holding it against. It's the only person it's going to hurt is you.
This is true.
Now, why should I hurt me because I'm mad at you? It don't make sense to me.
It don't.
So I said, well, okay then. That happened. We move on.
Right. I definitely
that's-
feel like I got that from you, like as far as like not holding grudges and, being able to move forward, after somebody, might hurt me or do something bad to me. Like I'm definitely one of those people who like let things go, and I definitely think I got that from you. We're Capricorn sisters.
But holding things inside just hurts you.
Right.
And I don't want nobody to bring me a problem if I can't solve it.
This is true.
If you got a problem, you're supposed to figure out what your problem is and how you're going to deal with it. Mm-hmm. But if you bring it and give it to me, now I got to worry about your problem, and I have no way at all to help you solve it.
True indeed. True.
So that's how come Granny keeps a lot of stuff to herself.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no point in giving it up because nobody can fix it. Eventually it'll get fixed.
You're right. You are absolutely right. Would you say, I feel like you definitely bent over backwards for me, to make sure I was able to get like the education that is needed, for me to be like successful. Do you really think it's important, when somebody wants to design and so on, stuff like that they must go to school? Or do you think it's okay to maybe start your own business and do things just from, being self-taught, because you were self-taught?
Well, and going into your own business, that's good too, but I'm a little skittish about that one. Mm-hmm. I did go into my own business at one point in time, but I had got laid off from work. Mm-hmm. And I went into my own business, but to say what I chose was doing the era where they had the Cabbage Patch dolls. Mm-hmm. And I made Cabbage Patch dolls. I sold every one I made, but I was constantly putting back the money into making them. So I really didn't make anything that much.
You don't feel like you made like a good profit from trying to do...
Well, I made enough to buy more fabric, buy more bedding, buy more materials and stuff like that, but It just was the wrong particular thing that I had chosen.
Gotcha.
If I had chose something different, I might have would have did really good on it, and I could still have the business now.
Right.
But my thought was, when I got out there and got the job, I was looking for insurance. I was looking for, in case you get sick,
Right.
get some insurance. And I wanted to get some insurance also, that if anything happened to me, that I would be able to be buried without people taking up, it wasn't no fund me page then.
But yeah, they do have those nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays they got the fund me page. But even myself now, I wanted to have, in case I had to be off, I could get paid for so many days off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was looking for, because Sam was sick for quite some time there. He had gotten hit by a car, and I had to judge my job based on how much I needed the medical.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how come I really didn't seek business for myself, because I wanted the job to give me all that insurance and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that would help me, because he went from the time he was 7 till he was 13.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. He had to go to therapy so many days a week, and he has to go to rehabilitation so many days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted him to have what he needed, and that was the only way that I could see forward to make sure he got what he needed so he would be okay.
Right. Well, I get that. That's understandable.
Yeah, well, since he had nobody but me, I'm the only person that had to make that choice.
Right.
And I started on one job in 77, and that job took me all the way to 86. And I started on the next job in 86, and it took me all the way up to 2001.
Oh, wow. That's a long time, Granny.
Uh-huh.
To be in
Then
one
I
place.
got a job in 2001, and that took me up till I made 67. And that's when I retired.
How has retirement been treating you?
Oh, well, I put it like this. Retirement is treating me real good. Real good. At the very beginning, I didn't think I was going to like it, because I always was doing something, had some place to go, had somebody to be with. But now that I'm 76, you won't know how lazy your granny done got to be.
You're not lazy, Granny.
Oh, yes, I am, hon.
You are
I
not.
get up and go from one room to the other one, and just to sit down. I make me something to eat, or choose to get me something to eat, and then I go sit down some more. And since the building, we can't go exercise or anything, they shut everything down for the corona. Can't nobody go in the exercise room or anything like that. And you can't go to a health club or any place. So I'm sitting around here just getting fat.
You're not fat, Granny. Have you done any sewing or any like little